Well, the Bank of Canada ran out a new report that says that, which we knew, like it's just common knowledge, but they're putting it out there to the public right now again. 60% of all the renewals in the country of Canada are going to take place in 2025 and 2026. So we're already halfway through 2025, but that's still huge. That's the most renewals in a 2-year period we've seen in the history of the country. So it is factually true. It's a massive number of renewals. We get these calls at our company daily, constantly. They never stop. So it's huge. So why is there so many of them? Okay, it's easy. The biggest mortgage year in the history of history in Canada was 2021. There was more people refinancing into those sweet 1.79 5-year fixed rates. There were people breaking their mortgages and switching to get their hands on those rates. It was the biggest purchase year, I think, in the history of the country. More homes purchased in Canada that year. It was tremendously, and the mortgages were big because it was the highest prices paid. Those were the record prices ever paid in this country for houses, particularly in Ontario and British Columbia. 2021 through February 2022, highest possible prices. Highest prices equal biggest mortgages. So that was the action. That's why there's so many of them. Now, here's another reason why there's so many of them. Because in 2022, rates started going up. They started going up. They went up steadily. Variable rates went from 1.45 to 5.25. We had fixed rates peaked at about 6.29. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. There was 6.29 mortgage renewals going out. Absolutely happened. So many people, and it turns out they were correct, they were wise, chose to take a 3-year mortgage in 2022 and also in the early part of 2023. Because they correctly guessed that this is going to be, this is the highest we've seen for so long. It's going to come down. I'm going to get a better deal in 3 years. And they were right. And we encouraged people during that time frame to take this 3-year opportunity because we believed rates would come down, and they did. But now we have this huge bunch of 5-year folks who got their mortgages in 2020, 2021. And we've got this huge number of folks who got a 3-year, and they're all coming up for renewal now in 2025 and 2026. So that's the reasoning behind it. So what's going to happen? Well, we're halfway through the first year. We got a pretty good idea what's going to happen. Basically, people are unhappy but grudgingly going through it. You know, if you had a 1.79 mortgage, 5-year fixed, and now you're looking down the barrel of 4.29, you're not pleased. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I mean, if you're lucky, you bought long before. You bought years before, not in 2021. But if you're in your 2021 purchase, you are probably a pretty damn big mortgage, and you're also had the greatest rate in history. So it's a shocker for sure. So what do we think is going to happen? Is this going to push up foreclosures and power sales? Because sometimes that's what people speculate. But that's actually unlikely. And I'll explain why in a minute. But what happens? So what's the way to approach this for people who are in it? Well, they got to shop. You got to try to, you can't get a percent difference, but you can get like 20 basis points difference, 0.25%. Maybe if you shop really hard, you get a shot at that. So that's one of the things you do to try to deal with this, in most cases, an increase. By the way, if you got that 5.79 mortgage in 2022, it's not an increase, actually. It's like your mortgage is actually coming down. So that's some good news on that front. All right, so what will happen is the vast majority of people will simply renew. That's it. They'll just renew. They'll live through it. Some people may be forced into default. Some of those people with huge mortgages from 2021 who have also seen the value of their houses come down. If you're in the Fraser Valley or you're in the distant 905 and small City, Ontario, and you bought at the very worst time, you're probably underwater on your mortgage, as we refer to it, when your mortgage is bigger than your house value. So there may be a few power of sales and foreclosures, but reality is that doesn't normally happen. How can I say that? I can say it because we went through this experiment once. When people had variable rates, they went from 1.45 in 2021 all the way up to 5.25, and they survived. 5.7. They went up to 5.7, and they survived. They survived. Like, they found a way. They found a way to get through it. Thank God it came down again, because they might have stretched themselves too far and it would have gone wrong. But there were really very few power of sales from those people who had this huge run up in payment as they went from a very low variable rate to a much higher variable rate, 4.75 basis points higher variable rate. It's a massive change, mind-bending in a short period of time. And the vast majority of them somehow managed to pull it off. Admittedly, their rate did go down again. Their payments did go down again when the rate fell off, when Tiff Macklin started cutting rates. So we know that there'll be a few people forced into a bad situation. We know that there'll be a few more people will actually just simply choose to sell if they have enough equity, but they can't afford the payment. If they have enough equity in their home, they'll just say, well, we'll sell it and we'll have to start again. But the vast, vast majority will just find a way to work through it in a painful way, because it's not just, if you got a mortgage 5 years ago and you're going from 179 to 429, that's a jump in payment for sure. But everything else has gone up. The property tax is up. The insurance on the house is up. The insurance on the cars have gone up every year. Literally the groceries are sure a lot more expensive. And now you've got a higher mortgage payment. So yeah, people are tremendously squeezed, some of these people, if they haven't had increases in their income, if they haven't had raises, if they haven't gone to a new job that pays more. Yeah, they are really going to feel it. So what we generally expect from this continuous wave of renewals, again, most of them at higher rates, some of them at lower rates. But for the people with the big jumps, it's just pure pain. And yet most of them find a way to get through it. That's just the way it's worked out.